Well, thanks again for all of you coming. You're all part of this adventure. If we just sort of stand back and see we have this island and we can make a big difference. I mean, I really believe we can be a model in many different ways. And just even the fact that we have these defined borders gives us an advantage over probably most any communities around the world. And I think that's one of the ways why Hawaii is sort of on the forefront. I think that the most important thing I feel that I'm trying to do is really have an informed public so that the public becomes engaged and can participate in government decision making. So much of my effort and actual time I put into whether it's the newsletter that I do, also getting an article in the Breeze in Waikoloa that I addressed to the Waikoloa folks, and then one in North Kohala every month, and then one in the North Hawaii News, although North Hawaii News asked me to stop for a few during the election, that they'd rather, they had made a decision to not have me do that. So when I go through Foodland and the person that says, well, why aren't you doing your news in the North Hawaii News? And I said, well, I'd like to be, but I have to wait. So I think just getting it out and like trying to get people to come in has been really exciting to me, and people coming in and really having a lot to say. I mean, we do have amazing people on this island. I mean, it's extraordinary. If I were to say what's the sort of knocked you over, it's just how extraordinary, you know, whether mind, emotions, all levels, just the whole philosophy that people have here, and just the number of skills and abilities. So that's sort of the overarching picture for me. How do we make it so that people have some say-so? So at the beginning I started doing like communications and resolutions, and I'd sort of throw a subject out, like what do people think about this important thing that's so controversial? And nobody would come in. You know, there wasn't really much. And so then I said, okay, from here on I'm just going to put a position out and then let people bang against it, and then everybody comes out. So and that's sort of how I've done it, tried to take things, and here's my starting position, but I want to learn, and we want to hear as a council. And I think, although there are quite a few people or persons on the council that don't always agree with me, I think the one thing they always say is that when Margaret does put something out, and we disagree, she really works to make it a collaborative effort and then come up with a consensus. So I did have a list of all of the bills and resolutions I've done, and I realized I've hardly failed on any. Wow. And the really controversial ones, I usually start with maybe one, maybe none, maybe two, and then by the end I've had at least 6 or 7. So it's, and they're not always perfect. I have a hard time saying no, so I have a lot of piles of things that I'm doing. But so far, we've really been, I think, doing well. And I think the one thing that, why am I different from the others on the council, is that I am just like, this is the group, you all are who I represent. And I want you to know what's going on and where I stand, and then, you know, tell me where you're at or where I'm wrong. And the same thing with the administration. I think the others, well, let me see, you know, that, for example, there's been talk of a bill to protect the fish, or, you know, aqua, you know, harvesting, and oh, so-and-so's going to do that, so-and-so's going to do it, and then it just doesn't happen. So even some of the other controversial issues that I thought somebody else was going to do, they somehow float. So I just decided if I'm going to run, I'm not going to worry, I'm just going to do what I think is right, and then I don't have to ever debate with myself what I'm doing. And I but I do really enjoy it, and I really enjoy actually accomplishing things, and I feel that often it's just putting one's mind to it. And I've got you know, I've got cultural anthropology, I have degrees in education, and then law. And so putting all of those things together, I feel it sort of gives me a lot of skills that I can work very, pretty fast at doing this. And we'll be working on a bill, and then there's something we can't do, and I'll say, well, give me 15 minutes and I'll stop. I think I can resolve where the controversy is. So I feel pretty good, but all of a sudden there is a lot of opposition, and there's opposition in that I really believe in open government. And a lot is being done in sort of private relationships and one-on-one situations, whether you're getting a permit or whether you're asking to get out of a fine or whether you're all the way down. And I'm sort of into law. I want people to trust that the law works. And then you should have due process. You should have the same checklist you're getting a permit as the person on the other side of the table. That it just should be fair. So I think that I'm sort of the one really outspoken person that lets everyone know what's happening. And it's not just among us. We don't tell anybody who's in what and what's going on. So that sort of shakes up the powers that be. And then on the substantive issues, there's people that, okay, Margaret's saying no to Monsanto, but I did grandfather in everybody that's doing anything, so not one job gets lost, and we adopted to the papaya, and I just tried to work it, what would people say is fair given where we're at. But we don't have all that, the GMO crops here, and really, it's not even being against GMO, it's saying, how do I protect the farmers that came to me that say, I'm a conventional farmer, I'm a non-GMO, whether organic or conventional, and if these folks come in, everything's going to be GMO. Okay, so I took it from not the consumer right to know, not the business, but the farmer who says, I don't want GMO, and if the neighbor or the person down the way has it, then it's going to dominate and it's going to wipe out my whole business. And even talking to farmers here in Waimea, one said, Margaret, well, I can get these GMO corn seeds really inexpensively, and I just want to try it. I'm not, against, I just want to try it, and then the other farmers who were there said, but if you do that, we're downwind of you. You eliminate our whole economy, our whole farm. So, and I think what's coming up, I think the biggest issue is really how we deal with our solid waste and trying to look at it as a resource, which is really probably our most valuable resource on this island in terms of the amount of green waste, the amount of compostables that we really could return to the land. And the whole waste to energy that's being proposed by the mayor, and he's asking the council not to consider any of this issue until he selects the one chosen company to do it, and then we get to vote yes or no. And I've been saying, well, the numbers don't add up. I'm not saying, if you show me it adds up, even just that it does, and when I asked the mayor just directly, well, doesn't add up, just show me. It looks to me like we have maybe 72% of what you're guaranteeing, and that's really taking it all from Kona, and then we're going to have to be paying fines to the Kona landfill, and it means we're going to truck 25% of it, maybe over time we get it down to 15%, of toxic waste back to Kona. And I just said, just show me, just where did it, Mark, don't body up to me. That was his response. And I said, what are we, gangsters? It's just how do we get it so people can talk and have an adult conversation? Let's get it all out on the table and talk about it. And here it is where we lock ourselves into 20, 30 years into this basically huge capital expenditure of 100 to 300 million. And that cost doesn't even include, say, the trucking of the toxic waste.